And welcome to our Ask Me or Ask Us Anything for the June edition, where we're talking about nutrition and ADHD. So this can go on to topics of, what to eat for focus, what to eat for more focus. If you have digestion problems, what to eat. If you don't have time to meal prep, what to eat, the best foods to eat for ADHD versus avoid for ADHD. So we have, all of the different things to talk on today. We host these every month. The Ask Me Anythings, they have a different theme each month. So last month was exercise. And if you're watching the replay of this one, we'll also send out the link to watch last month's replay as well, which are all on YouTube. Without further ado, this is ADHD Wellness Co., also known as AWC. My name is Gaia Broda. I am a late diagnosis ADHDer about 3 years ago now, and started this, not quite this brand of what it's evolved into today, but the brand now is giving you strategies through biohacking to thrive med-free with ADHD. So no side effects. We really want to give you the strategies that don't rely on using pharmaceutical meds. And got my partner here, Inkarin, who it's his last AMA. We don't know. He may come back for some future ones. It's been so great having you for the last couple Ask Us Anything. Do you want to quickly introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, sure. My name is Inkarin. I'm a software developer, and a lot of I haven't been officially diagnosed with ADHD, but I definitely resonate with a lot of the typical symptoms that people go through. So just thought I'd give any advice that's helped me go through my own journey and be able to help you guys as well. So
I see, which is so valuable. I love hearing your perspective on things and just your own experience with stuff. So if you are joining live, you can type in the chat your question, or you can raise your hand and we'll call upon you to unmute and ask it aloud. And this is being recorded and we will send it out as a replay as well if you're watching the replay. So if you are watching the replay and you have questions, do email them to us and we may ask them or pre-ask them in our future AMA. So we do have some pre-selected questions that we'll start with here. The first one is, I have no time in the morning for breakfast. Should I skip it, or is it healthier and better for my brain to eat breakfast? Ingrid, do you want to just share your experience? Because you were just talking about this before we hopped on about how you started doing fasting in the morning and how that's helped for you.
yeah, so I think typically I've been like most other people, I've gone through like a bunch of random diets that I've tried. Just like low calorie diets and like fasting, intermittent fasting, keto and stuff like that. And just like through experimenting is really where I kind of picked up that I guess it was like a common thing anyways that people were talking about, but like fasting in the morning and keeping a just generally low carb diet helped me out a lot in terms of maintaining my focus, especially during work. Like if I fast during say I stopped eating like 9 p.m. tonight, I wouldn't eat until like 12 o'clock the next morning. So so doing that, definitely I noticed like when I'm working in the mornings at work and stuff like that, I have a lot more focus compared to if I had maybe like a small breakfast like bananas or something like that, something like or even something carb heavy. Like I'd noticed that I'd have a huge dip in focus, and even when I have that lunchtime meal, I usually keep it like very low carb. Like nowadays, I just basically eat like chicken and broccoli. So I guess that doesn't sound too fun for most people, but like I feel like the reward vastly outweighs just like the desire to eat other types of food, and I can kind of like plow through like the rest of the work day just with that meal, and then I still kind of like maintain a low carb diet in the like evenings and stuff, but as like for other people, I guess like you can pretty much eat whatever you want if you're just it's kind of your downtime in the evening and something like that, right? So I guess it's like a bit of a good technique or kind of a little cheat code there for maintaining more focus. And a lot of people don't realize how much diet really affects your overall like mood, especially mood and focus. So yeah, it's good to experiment with different diets and see what works for you.
Yeah, I love that you experimented to get to where you are, because that's a big thing in my own life. It's experimenting, using yourself as your own research, your own data, and find out what works for you. Because I'll just kind of add this as a preface, is even though if you're listening, you have ADHD or resonate with it, we're all completely unique beings
Yeah.
given, the severity of your ADHD, your upbringing, even generational aspects, which we'll be talking more on actually in our upcoming podcast. So what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for the next person. We also have completely different microbiomes, which is in our gut health. However, there are some common practices that do work, such as having a low carbohydrate breakfast. And I'm going to elaborate on that and then kind of give a bigger like snapshot of what morning should look like for better focus. But
Yeah.
when we have anything that's in like a high GI index, something that's going to cause an insulin or sugar spike, then we're going to get a crash, and that's going to completely kill our
Right.
focus.
Yeah.
We may have focus during when we eat the sugar, and sugar can be fruit, sugar can be like bread, like white bread. It can be anything with like a low fiber content, and it's a high on the GI index. The other big thing is that sugar causes inflammation in our body. And this is something I mentioned in our email we sent out last week, is when we have inflammation in our body, this, causes a whole host of things in short-term and long-term, but a big one is focus. It's going to kill your focus. It's going to kill your cognitive functioning. Maybe not to a significant degree for a neurotypical, but when you have ADHD, you're trying to get as much focus as possible and have your brain operate as best as you possibly can. Any sort of inflammation, which comes from a lot of different things, including sugar, it's just not helping you in any way. Now for breakfast, I also love, Ingrid, that you fast for about 14 hours or 15
Yeah.
hours.
Around that, yeah.
I would recommend to anyone fasting kind of minimum 10 hours overnight, because it's so good for your gut health. And quickly to segue into gut health is like your gut and mind, your gut and brain. The gut brain connection is very, very, very much linked. So what you're giving to your gut health, your health of your microbiome is significantly or directly going to affect how your brain functions. So if we're, of course, feeding ourselves good, healthy food, probiotics, prebiotics, all the things, but most importantly, fasting, having at least one fast in a day gives your microbiome, your gut, just a chance to rest and hopefully you're in a calm state, not a stress state, a calm state where you're sleeping, so you can actually digest and absorb those nutrients as well. Like our gut needs to have some breaks, which also goes into like breaks between meals too. So in the morning, if you have an overnight fast of 10 hours, maybe 15 hours, that's just more personal preference. If you're someone who's starving in the morning, I would not recommend fasting any longer, because you're just going to be thinking about food and you don't have the fuel for your brain to operate, which does require calories. But if you're feeling great and you're like,
I think
no,
black
go
coffee
ahead.
helps with black coffee helps with like tempering the hunger as well, if it's something that you struggle with. Yeah.
That's something like is I'm I should say anti-caffeine. I'm
Oh,
like
really?
no
Yeah.
caffeine. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's also a time and place for it. Coffee is delicious. And if you're like, well, a bit of caffeine, I do really enjoy, it does help me out and you're weaning off
Oh,
it,
yeah.
great. And then there's also the next part about the thing with breakfast in the morning, as if you're male versus female. Our hormones are completely different. So for females, definitely eating in the morning. Definitely when you get up, eat if you've had that long fast. And for women as well, caffeine is not good for our hormones. It really isn't. And just really try to eliminate it from your diet. I'm going to like wrap that up in a big bow. So if you don't have time in the morning or you don't like breakfast, should you skip it? Should you eat it? The big thing is, okay, let's look at the bigger picture. Have you had a 10-hour fast overnight? Great. If not, like don't stress too much of those 9 hours, but try and give your gut that chance to rest. In the morning, if you're hungry, eat. Like please eat. Your brain needs fuel, so eat something. But if you're going to choose food, protein. Like protein's such a good source, protein and fat. If you need something to keep you full or longer, carbs, sure, but really focus on protein and fat, and then have that more carb heavy meal a little bit later in the day. Personally, I wake up, I usually have like a protein shake, and then I typically work out. If I don't work out, I'll still have the protein, but about 2-3 hours later, I'll then have overnight oats, like my carb heavy meal, and which is also slow digesting as well. So protein first thing when you get up, if you're hungry. Otherwise, wait a little bit until for that focus, like you do, and then having carbs or your normal breakfast, or lunch, whatever you want to call it, in a couple hours. Yeah. Does that spark any other like questions or thoughts on your end of just what you do or what you've experienced?
No, that pretty much summarizes
Yeah.
that for sure. I think that was good, yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Keep drinking your coffee if you love it, but I'm gonna be team decaf over here.
Yeah, no, I would, yeah. At some point, I want to come off that as well, but that's
Yeah.
also a process.
It took me about 35 years. Probably took time
Yeah,
to get over
I
it.
don't even know if I need it. I just drink it out of habit now, so I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah,
It's fun when you come off of caffeine or like considerably, like if you just have some green tea here and there,
yeah.
because you really notice the effects of caffeine and you notice the crash a lot more
Hmm.
than I've noticed before. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I, I mean, we should do a whole episode on caffeine and effects of that. Okay.
Right.
Next question I have here is I don't have time to meal prep. So I end up just getting takeout, which I know isn't good for my health. What should I do like to eat healthy when I don't have time to meal prep, or other people I've heard don't like meal prepping. It's hard, it's overwhelming, can't focus enough to get it done. Yeah. Okay. Do you want me to start with this one?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So meal prep and just like takeout food, like just to just commend this person. Takeout, yeah, yeah, don't. I would honestly say it's better to fast than get takeout food. The amount of, oils, sugars, salts in that food, it's just going to cause a bunch of inflammation in your body, which is going to affect directly your gut health and your brain health and your cognitive functioning. And it really has no nutrients. There's no benefit to your body. And you're also probably eating it when you're like in the car or rush for lunch or rushing home. And if you're in any sort of stressed state, you're multitasking, you're rushing somewhere, you're preoccupied with something else, you're also not digesting the food fully or absorbing the nutrients from it. So it's not really doing you any good. It's just kind of filling up your belly. I would recommend just fasting, or I mean, if you can get like a protein shake or even like a coconut water, something with some calories in it that you can kind of sip until you can get real food. Um, so I would say, yeah, don't even go for takeout. There's a lot of ways to prep really simple, healthy, like nutrient-packed food that doesn't require hours and hours on a weekend.
Right.
And I'll give you some tips on that really quickly here. I hate meal prep. I did about 7 years of bodybuilding in an amateur to professional status. So meal prep was like the gold standard of how to do bodybuilding competitions. I never really meal prepped. I did not have the time, the focus for it, nor I also found it overwhelming. So my biggest recommendation is that when you do make a meal to make, you know, 2 extra servings. So if you're cooking for 3 servings, if you're cooking for multiple people, make 2 extra servings for yourself so you can have it for the next 2 lunches. If you can make even more, great, because then you can freeze it and you always have a few frozen meals that you've made in your own freezer. I always will prep breakfast ahead of time because that takes me maybe 15 minutes, where I'll scoop a bunch of oats into different containers with some protein powder, some sea salt, some dried fruit and nuts for my overnight oats. And that is something so simple that you can prep a whole bunch in ahead of time, and then you just add water so it's not going to go bad. But the biggest thing is when you do make a meal, make extras. Prep stuff as as you can that isn't perishable. So if you're like, I have 5 minutes extra here, good, prep a breakfast for the next 2 days. If you have a ton of time or you're bored, prep a few more. And the other big tip is keep your food really simple. So I love what I guess the term nowadays is like the Buddha bowl, which is really just a bowl of food with a bunch of different ingredients. All it is like taking a protein, a fat, and a carb, putting it together in a meal, maybe add a dressing, and you're good to go. So that could look like cooking up some extra chicken breast when you're making your normal supper. Just having some carrots, some broccoli, some tomatoes in the fridge that you can literally just like grab a carrot and break it in half if you need to. Grab some cherry tomatoes, And then, have some healthy fats, so like nuts, some avocado oil, whatever you like. And then you just grab a bowl, just grab some chicken breasts that you cooked the night before, grab some veggies that can be raw, you can cook them in the microwave, and then just adding in some of those healthy fats. And you have a very, very nutritious and tasty meal that you literally assemble in 2 minutes and took you very little time, if any, to prep in advance. And that is what I do on a regular basis. Yeah. Do you have anything to add, Ingrid? Like, do you meal prep? How have you found that? What are your easy to make healthy meals?
Uh, I do sort of, and not really meal prep, but I do know what I'm basically be eating for most days. Like I really just stick to like chicken and broccoli, and then I like if I want to gain weight, I just increase the calories a little bit more, or eat a little bit more of that, or if I want to lose weight, I just decrease it. So in terms of that, like it's kind of intuitive to me. So I just do it like I have an air fryer, so it's not too hard to prep it, right? So, but I guess if you're really adamant about not being able to meal prep, but it's a little tough unless you're gonna spend money for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It'll start getting really expensive. But if you have to do it, I guess like really look at like at every place that you can buy takeout from usually has like a like a breakdown of the like nutrition facts of all their food. So like every menu, every like food item usually has like a breakdown of their calories and like the macros and the like nutrients or whatever. So if you are gonna do takeout, I definitely recommend looking at that before you kind of just choose what you want. So in terms of planning, that'd be my biggest recommendation there. So just so you're not like just blindly going into um to, to buying food, right? Which is arguably like could be harder than or just as hard as prepping. So I don't know. I guess pick your poison. I guess.
I agree. I honestly find going out to find a place to get takeout and standing in line and ordering and getting my food and then find a place to eat it takes longer than it does just to cook the food. Because if you're going to cook
Yeah.
even one meal at home, just make a few extra. It doesn't take any longer than to put, 5 chicken
Yeah.
breasts in the oven or your air fryer versus like two.
Yeah.
The other thing that you mentioned your chicken, broccoli, some rice, love it. Big thing here that you're really seeing is eat the same thing every day. Like I have been eating the same
Yeah.
thing probably for 10 years. And
Yeah.
this is actually, we can send this out to you. I'll put in maybe in the next email if you're watching interested in this. I have this healthy meal blueprint that when I was running the
Nice.
fitness version of this brand, all my clients would get, all of them would go through it and work through it. And it's literally like the simplest like blueprint for eating healthy if you have ADHD. And what we tell you in it is that if you don't eat the same thing every day for the rest of your life, like that's fair. I totally get it. But it's like creating the same type, or I call the format of a meal. So that means every dinner you're always having a stir fry. So you know ahead of time like what is needed, how to cook it, and you're eliminating that extra bit of like executive functioning and planning. And then you're like, cool, I need some veggies, a protein, and like some sort of carb, and I know it's going to be some sort of stir fry. And then maybe every lunch is always a salad. And when you just eliminate some of the decision making and planning, it makes it feel so more doable and easier and less stressful. And it redefines meal planning. And I think that is a really big block for a lot of people because we call like health culture has made meal prepping look like 3 to 5 hours on a Sunday, and it looks
Yeah. Exactly.
dreadful. It's
Yeah.
not like that at all. Meal prepping, meal planning can really just be, you know, cooking an extra serving here and there, or just having all the ingredients in your fridge for that stir fry you're gonna have every night, and just that's it. And you can easily cook
Exactly.
it
Yeah.
in a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Keep it simple. Keep it simple. It's like biggest takeaway here. And that
Hmm.
you'll probably spend less time cooking healthy food than going out. And you'll get used to eating healthy food, and it's gonna taste better than what you're getting out as well.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Sure.
Let's go on to the next question here. Okay. So this one you actually mentioned too, so I'd love to hear your experience with it. But there's keto and paleo, vegetarian, intermittent fasting, vegan, all these different diets. What is best for ADHD, if any? I would love to hear your experience with what you've tried, if you want willing to share.
Yeah, sure. Like mine has mostly been like just I guess I've tried vegetarian for a little bit, but that it was a little bit harder for me because it's hard to find protein that you like kind of like. So adding that didn't last very long to me. All this is very like personal preference, but I feel like keto is kind of like short term as well. Like I don't think you can do like full on keto for like a very long time since it's like I feel like at some point you do need carbs. But just a general low carb diet, I feel like works best for me. And like being very intentional about where and like I guess not where, but like where when you eat your food, eat your like carbs, like you were mentioning, like the when you get like the spike of insulin, you really want to time it so like you're not doing anything super productive because you don't want that crash definitely makes you lose a lot of focus as well. I say for myself, low carb diet, just in general, and you can play around with how much carbs low it means to be in a low carb diet. So yeah, just play around with with that type of diet, I guess.
Do you find that's made you more intuitive with your eating and diet when you've kind of played with different diets already?
Yeah, like I definitely know when I'm about to make a bad decision or like like I know like yeah it's become very intuitive to me at this point. Like I can tell like if I'm about to do a lot of work or like or I'm just trying to have fun. I like I'll eat whatever. Like it's sort of empowering in the sense of like I know what's gonna make me lose weight and what's gonna make me gain weight. So if I can be very flexible with like what I eat and so that it aligns with my goals. So I don't really have to like think about it too much nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to add to that, intuitive eating, because it's been a big buzzword, it's not something that you just like stumble upon and like you're like, I now know how to intuitive eat and it's all perfect. It's literally a lifelong journey
Hmm.
because I mean, it's really building your intuition and it's building a connection with your body of what it needs. And that's going to go deeper
Yeah,
and deeper and deeper the more you attention you give to it. Like your intuition in general. I know
yeah,
my own intuitive eating has gotten so much more dialed in than say a couple years ago. And I thought I was already dialed in a couple years ago. So like I stopped
yeah.
coffee.
I used to
Like
like measure my chicken and stuff like that too, and now it's like I know that's about whatever 40
yeah.
grams or 100 grams of
And you also know
like
what feels
protein.
right for you too, right?
Yeah,
Like you
exactly.
eat it and you're like, oh, that I feel full. This feels like enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. And intuitive eating also in that journey, it's you also realize what foods your body wants and what foods it doesn't want.
Mhm.
Which goes into back to the original question here. Like for example, one day I cold turkey, I stopped coffee. I brought it back in, but only decaf, stopped alcohol, stopped gluten, stopped dairy, because my body
Mhm.
literally was like, it felt really actually revolting to me to have that one day. It's like my body did not want it anymore. So to quit those things was really easy because I did not want it. My body didn't want it.
Yeah,
And that was like that another step in that intuitive eating uh, journey.
that's a good that's a good point we should touch on too. Alcohol is a
Yeah.
pretty big factor as well.
Yeah,
Depending on
let's
yeah.
go into that. That's the next question. We'll just create our question on alcohol. But back to like the keto, the paleo, all of that, what you do.
Mhm.
It's there is, I will give a recommendation of what I think you should follow, but it all is going to depend too on where your microbiome's at. So all have different microbiomes, which changes. So that's going to be what your body needs and what it wants.
Mhm.
And that could be higher carb for one person for right now and lower carb for another person for right now. And getting intuitive is going to help you determine what's best for you. I don't believe in subscribing to any of those diets, mainly because none of them have any long-term that I know of long-term evidence and science and research for the long-term effects of it. And a lot of them came into play for weight loss or maybe weight gain, but weight loss. And if you're looking for strategies to biohack your ADHD med-free, then weight loss, yeah, that's great, but you're probably looking for optimal health and optimal brain health, which will also lead you to a path of intuitive eating, which will also lead you down a path of getting your ideal body weight, because intuitively your body wants to be at a certain weight, which is the healthiest for you. So
Right.
keto, yeah, there's no long-term studies for the long-term effects of being in a keto state. The whole basis around that is to be burning fat for fuel, but you need to be in ketosis. So low carb, completely different than keto. Personally, I find with intuitively following my own diet, it's gone to more low carb and more higher fat. And
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I also, yeah, I feel like that is, I think we just even need to find what low carb is, because people eat a ton of carbs. So low carb to a lot of people isn't actually that low carb. It's kind of like a normal amount. But if you're getting, say 100 grams of carbs, but it's like low GI, slow digesting carb, and you're filling up on healthy fats and good proteins, quality protein sources, then I think that's a great approach, especially for brain functioning, right? We said sugar creates inflammation in the body, along with alcohol, also along with stress too, among other things. So subscribing to one of these diets, I mean, if this is going to be your path forward in your intuitive eating journey, fantastic, because it's going to lead you somewhere. But if you're following one of those set diets, it's really going to keep you in a box and prevent you from discovering what foods feel best for you, your brain, your
Yeah.
body. So if you need to start there and just start there in your journey, like I have, great. But it's allow yourself to be flexible to like paint outside the lines and see what feels good, experiment with different foods, like we both have. And if you still need some just direction on this, a moderate to low carb diet with high fiber, so lower GI index foods, and then good source of protein, good source of fat, and
Yeah.
enjoy what you're eating. Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we go into alcohol?
Yeah.
Wrap
Sure.
it up
Yeah.
with alcohol. Let's do
Yeah.
it. Alcohol. So it's great. I completely stopped drinking. End of 2023. I have no desire to drink anymore.
Yeah.
I believe alcohol across the board is just not good for us. It is literally a toxin to our body. It's one stat I heard was really fascinating. How it affects the liver. So fatty acid in the liver, it's like liver fatty acid, is, they said, I believe, the worst type of fat to hold in your body. And like it's just a tiny amount can cause like significant health defects or
Yeah.
health effects. And that comes straight from alcohol. Like there's literally no benefit of alcohol to us. To make it worse, a lot of us drink, most like as in us, I mean humans, drink to numb or to avoid or to zone out. And that is a nervous system coping, like your nervous system's out of whack. You're in a stress state and it's trying to just avoid facing the sensations in the body to come back to a calm state. So we choose alcohol as one of those options to numb. And also if you're female, like it just wrecks your hormones. It's not good for your hormones at all. And a lot of women have hormonal imbalances and issues given just the rate of increase of like PCOS and severe PMS, and this other one, like post this other one, perimenopause, and a lot of other related things as well. So I mean, a drink a week, fine, but honestly, I'm say cut it if you can. Mocktails are so good these days. And yeah. What's been your experience? What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, like just in general, I try to cut back on drinking as much as possible. Like I really haven't been drinking until like pretty recently on my little Miami trip, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's
like
fair.
I try to avoid like even like I don't like casually like I really only want to drink if I'm like going out to like specific events, like big events, and like sometimes even at like parties. I don't really like sipping on drinks or anything like that. Like you'd be surprised how much even like small amounts on weekends can affect the rest of your week as well, right? So if we're just talking about ADHD and focus and things like that, allowing your body to uh, like recover, like if you're drinking just on the weekends, it doesn't take just like that morning to recover from that, right? It takes like the whole week just to recover, and then if you're like hammering again like every weekend, then it's just like a constant cycle of your body just like wondering what the heck you're doing, and and it's become so normal that you won't even realize that that's like your main issue, right? So people, it's become for some reason like a very common thing in society to drink every weekend, or like even like casual drinking and stuff like that. But you'd be surprised at how much it can go like a month or two without drinking, and you'd be surprised how much like your body appreciates that, and like and especially if you have your diet on point as well, like you'll definitely like start seeing major changes in your focus and your health and like your sleeping pattern as well. Like alcohol completely messes up your sleep as well. So if you if it just completely stacks up on it, even if like you do it every weekend, right? So like you mess up your sleep on Saturday, Sunday, but it bleeds into the weekdays and like your work days and stuff like that, right? So I don't know.
Yeah. And to elaborate on that, it's like solid points of how it just bleeds into the rest of your days and weeks is when we drink, like I said, there's nothing beneficial to it, to our body at all. So it's putting your body in a stress state. It's literally fighting off a toxin. Like that's what happens. So if your
Yeah.
body is in a stress state, and there's a lot more to this. I actually have a whole podcast episode coming out on this. When we're in a stress state, our nervous system is in sympathetic, which means it's like literally fight, flight, fawn, freeze. It's in like a nervous system
Mm-hmm.
response and or stress response. And I fully believe that us as ADHD are chronically in that loop, or at least we fall into it so much easier, which the common side effects of being in that stress state is like lack of focus, high energy, emotional swings, just like poor cognitive functioning, ruminating, second guessing, procrastinating, falling down like a rabbit hole of like getting stuck in a deep what's the word? What's the one? Like a hyper focus. All of those are also all side effects of being in a stressed state, a sympathetic state. So if we're intentionally putting our body into a stress state when we're already in that state, and a lot of things in our daily life is also keeping us there, it's just like it's adding fuel to the fire. Like it's also, like I said at the beginning, we often use alcohol or other substances to numb, to avoid actually facing that sympathetic state, that stress state, and regulating, come back to a calm state, because it's uncomfortable to sit with those feelings. It's like if you are high energy and you're ruminating and you're procrastinating, it's hard to just sit with the sensations that are in your body, right? You're going to like run around your house. You're going to like avoid doing tasks. You're going to like just doom scroll. You're going to like fidget. Like you're going to do all these things to avoid being with your body. So to add more stress to that, it's just, like I said, there's no benefit. So if we haven't sold you on stopping drinking or limiting your drinking yet, hopefully we will very, very, very soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like the more I learned about alcohol, and especially the effects on hormones as well, effects on the
Mm-hmm.
body, the more I have no desire to drink. I
Yeah.
also want the healthiest brains. So
Yeah. It's just too much of a social thing nowadays.
yeah,
Which is
luckily
unfortunate. Yeah.
mocktails are like coming out strong here. Like the mocktail game, I've been finding some really, really good ones. Started making my own at home as well, which are
Oh
just
yeah.
full of health benefits too. Like you can make them, as healthy as you want. Even kombucha is a great alternative. And
Yeah.
that's adding benefits to your health and to your body. Plus, it's like great. They're like fun drinks to have when you're in a social setting
Mm-hmm.
too. Yeah.
For sure.
Okay, everyone, that I think about wraps up our June Ask Us Anything on the topic of nutrition and how it relates to ADHD. So stay tuned for next month. We will be releasing the date shortly for the July AMA, which topic TBD, but I believe we'll either do sleep or stress management and nervous system regulations. And so that would wrap up our 4 core pillars of how to manage ADHD meds free through biohacking, which is exercise, nutrition, and digestion, stress management, and sleep, quality sleep. So we're going over those 4 topics over these 4 months. If you have questions, if you're watching the replay, just send us an email at adhdwellnessco@gmail.com, and we'll answer it hopefully on the next AMA, or we may even answer it through email, depending on the question. So thank you again for tuning in, and we will see you next month.
Right, thank you.
Bye.